Grouting tile isn't the no-brainer most people think it is. A nice grout job isn't difficult to do, but then again, neither is a bad one. Here are a few of my best tips for getting perfect-looking, trouble-free grout joints. Start by choosing the right grout. Larger joints like these call for sanded grout, but use non-sanded grout for joints that are 1/8 of an inch and smaller. I always use an additive to improve the stain resistance of the grout. That saves the hassle and expense of sealing the grout later. You'll only need a few tools, starting with a couple of pails, one for mixing and another for washing. A margin trowel for mixing, a grout float, a sponge, and a microfiber towel for cleanup. The amount of grout you need depends on the size of your tile and the grout joint width. To figure out how much to buy, look at the coverage chart on the grout bag or carton. If you're grouting a small floor like this bathroom, mix the amount you'll need for the entire floor. But for larger floors, mix in batches and grout smaller sections one at a time. Once the grout is mixed, the clock starts running and the grout can set before you've had enough time to shape it and clean it. Follow the mixing directions on the bag. Allow for the slake time required. The final consistency should be easy to spread, but not runny. In order to completely fill the joint, work the float diagonally, both directions, as you work along the floor. After you fill a section, do a final pass over the joint to even it out. Don't get too aggressive, or you'll carve the grout out of the joint. The grout will stiffen over the next 30 minutes or so. You're ready to start the cleanup when you can press on the joint and the grout doesn't stick to your finger. Using medium pressure on a damp sponge, work the surface to loosen the grout haze and then to shape the joint. You can add a little grout as needed to fill low spots or voids. You want a full, even joint, washed just to the shoulder of the tile. Clean the grout sponge as needed, but don't worry about leaving a little grout haze on the surface. We'll get that later. When you're satisfied with the look of the joints, sit back and wait for the grout to tighten up again. This will happen a bit faster this time, but now you want a harder, drier joint before moving on. When you can't dent the joint with firm finger pressure, it's time to begin final cleanup. Using clean water and sponge, work the surface to loosen the grout film. Rinse and wring out the sponge. Lay it flat on the tile and pull it slowly across the surface at a diagonal to the joints. Flip it over and repeat. Rinse out the sponge again and continue until the floor is done. You'll never get 100% of the grout haze off with one cleaning. Once the grout has dried completely, remove the last haze with a damp microfiber towel, followed by a dry one. There's quite a bit of elbow grease involved in grouting, but with the right techniques and a steady, unhurried pace, you will get a good-looking job that will last a long time.